Yes. All right, click the links to join channel convey, remember, or check out the Patreon Subscribe Star, or there's videos up over on Subscribe Star, or the various other links for the other video platforms and for the Telegram. So what happened? Lord of the Rings, this Rings of Power thing, is coming out in a month, I think. As I said, I think it's gonna be a huge bomb. The first episode, I'm sure, will be huge. People will watch it. And then after that, we'll see what happens. I can't imagine. It doesn't look well from what I've seen with like actors interviews. They're trying to do damage control. That's what it feels like. It feels like damage control with these people. I think they must suspect, like, hey, we spent $750 million on this show. How's it going? Oh, well, people aren't really cool with all the swapping out of the characters. They feel that's not Tolkien's original vision. Oh, well, we'll call them mystophobic. Does that work? I mean, has it worked in the past for you guys? Does it have a thing of success? I think Charlie's Angels with Elizabeth Banks. I remember her. For some reason that's stuck in my head because it was such a stupid thing to say when they attacked. They're not attacking the fans. They're attacking the customers. So I was thinking about how in their minds they think this works. Where if the goal for them is to get you to pay the $15 for the streaming service or whatever, and they have an argument with you in the digital town square, and they argue back and forth, and then they call you some kind of, they call you some kind of names, and they insult you, and they send the chads out, scurrying away out to the cornfields with your tail between your legs. And then at the end of it, they go, I won that round. I really sent that Chad off. He made his account private, and we dogpiled, and we sure taught him a lesson. And you go, yeah, but the goal of your argument was to get him to pay you $15 for the streaming service per month. Oh, yeah, so you actually lost the argument, even though you might have got this dopamine from... did you hear the one-liners? All these bon mots? I was just nailing this dude left and right. Yeah, you made him look like an idiot, but sure, congratulations, but he still didn't... The goal was the $15 a month for you and Amazon. That's an L. You lost. I mean, you might have felt good while you lost, but you still... That wasn't... You got confused. And they do this stuff all the time. It's like, donate to my Subscribe Star, and if you don't, you're fat and ugly. Oh, okay, well, that's not, and you know what, like, complimenting and insulting people is not going to get people to buy your product. You got to be entertaining to get support. And for Amazon, you're selling Lord of the Rings, you should be printing money. This should be an freaking cash cow. This is insane that you have something, a golden goose, and you just, what do we do to the golden goose? Let's, it looks delicious. No, you don't. You're not supposed to eat it, dude. It lays golden eggs. Oh God, but it's fat and succulent. Let's eat it. But that's not the purpose of the golden goose. If you just take care of it, it'll give you golden eggs. But it looks delicious. I think we're gonna eat it. And then they're fighting each other to see who will strangle the golden goose. And knowing Hollywood, they'll probably try to hump it because they're a bunch of Epstein degenerates who run Hollywood, or Weinstein who run Hollywood, just a bunch of filthy perverts. And I wouldn't get a trebuchet because you got to reach escape velocity. I get like one of those electromagnetic trains. It's put them on a train to reach the escape velocity and just send them to one of the moons of Jupiter. How they're going to land? The people at Jupiter can figure that out. These are the worst people on Earth. And not only that, but they lecture us while they're throwing garbage at us, and then when we put up a shield and some of that garbage bounces back, they immediately call us istophobic for just being normal, reasonable people who don't want to bait and switch. Anyway, so this might be AfroHobbits 9 or 10. I don't know. I've done a lot of these videos. Always accuse your enemy of what you are, of your own hatred. I think that's Saul Alinsky or Critical Theory or the Frankfurt School, something like that. It's like the Saul Alinsky version of the AfroHobbits. So whoever attacks the customers, because virtue signaling is basically putting money in the bank, except it isn't. Like it never is. And it has a whole history of not putting money in the bank. So why would you continue to do it? Because they're, understanding them is like trying to understand Ezra Miller. So first of all, this isn't Lord of the Rings, and when you call it Lord of the Rings, you're lying to us, and we know you're lying to us, and all your gaslighting. this is a male audience. And men are a little bit further on the spectrum of tisms, a little bit more. Propaganda doesn't work as well on us because you're telling us something that we know is not in accord with reality. And we're not. I don't mean we're autistic, but we're a little bit more than women are. We're more mathematical than women, so that like propaganda, it just doesn't click with us. That's why you see more women fall for stuff like cults and communism, socialism, because they got on board with brainwashing a little bit. I was going to apologize, but I don't think there's any women listening to this. But you know what I mean? It's just a little bit more. So we're just like, when we say this isn't Lord of the Rings, all this stuff they shout at us, it's like we reach the conclusion and go, yes, but this still isn't Lord of the Rings. You're lying to us. And everything you're saying is a continuation of that lie. You're just continuing to gaslight us. You're saying something not in accord with reality, a material misrepresentation of the truth. That's known as a lie. Like insulting us and calling us Chad, incels, or fat with a small phallic device and all this kind of nonsense. It's like, but that doesn't get you the $15 at the end of the day, and you keep seeming to forget it. Guys, support my Subscribe Star for $2 a month, or you're a Chad incel who plays video games and watches anime. Oh yeah, that'll definitely get us. It's not how it works. You got to make a good Lord of the Rings product, and people would gladly pay the $15 for Amazon streaming services or wherever it's on. That's all it takes. And it's not like you don't have one of the greatest fantasy stories ever written to guide you. What was it, Kathleen Kennedy? We didn't have anything to guide us in Star Wars. Really? How do you say that? And like, how do you? Oh, what you get paid last year? $20 million. Oh, how does that happen? It happens when you live in clown world, and plot twist. Look around. It's getting very clowny in here. You're probably well aware of that. So this isn't Lord of the Rings, and we just kind of keep sticking to that because that is the truth. And you're lying to us. You continue to lie to us. You're starting the show with a lie. Any criticism by us gets a deflection and an ad hominem. You're not updating the show. You're creating propaganda to push cultural Marxism. They're doing a bait and switch, and nobody wants a bait and switch. That makes people angry, and it's shocking. The thing is, when I say guys are more on board with this, and to be familiar, even chicks, the chicks who are into Lord of the Rings are familiar with this story, and they want Lord of the Rings, and they're also familiar that when you're selling something that you call one thing and is something else, it's not Lord of the Rings. So everyone looks at you and goes, oh, you're lying to us. You're starting this relationship off, this I don't know, $200 a year relationship for the streaming services off with a lie. It's like, well, if you're lying about this, gee, media and government, if you're lying about this stuff, what else have you been lying about? Oh, we've been lying the whole time. So you look at Amazon or Netflix, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a continuation of you're just going to bait and switch, just like Kevin Smith with that He-Man cartoon. Oh, no, what do you mean? It's called He-Man, you chat incels. It's going to have plenty of He-Man in it. Like, it looks like there's two powerlifting. Oh, my God, those are women. Those are women. Why are they powerlifters? Why do they look like they could bench press a car, Kevin Smith? Oh, do you hate women? Yeah, clearly everyone who didn't like your show hates women. It's just, if they didn't have ad hominems and deflections, they wouldn't have an argument. That's all they have. So we know you're lying to us. You're not opening this up for a bigger audience, because the people who like Lord of the Rings, they wanted Lord of the Rings. They can, when you read a story, you always self-insert you always put your own image in the thing anyway. It's like, we're not elves or hobbits. Like, none of us are hobbits. Like, but we all kind of felt the story that way. It's like we're not any of these things, but we were immersed in the story like you would when you're reading Henry Rider Haggard's stories of Central Africa and South America. It's like we had no problem reading stories of Cetewayo, Panda, and Shaka Zulu. I love those stories. It's like, oh, but you're not African. You're not of the Maasai. Yeah, it's okay. We don't have to race swap Shaka Zulu with, what they always say, Ryan Gosling. They want to turn him into, I don't know who that is, but they want to turn him into the Black Panther. Rest in peace, Chad. 43 is way too young to die from cancer. That sucks. No, we can get into the story without, like, I want to see an Irish person play this role because I'm Irish. Oh, well, it's an African story. It's a South American story. It's an Indian story. It kind of be a little weird if you put an Irish person in the role in Africa. I mean, they're not. They would die in Africa instantly. They would just go up in a puff of smoke, like SPF 200 to survive And anyway, you're not going to be able to manipulate us with this bait and switch stuff. And calling people Istophobic, those aren't real words. Those are control terms used by Marxists to compel behavior via social conditioning and fear. The Scientologists do something similar, but they don't even come close to what the Bolsheviks have been doing for the past 100 years. Like, wait a minute. You mean that the media since 1963 has been brainwashing people? Yeah, I'm doing a video for Odyssey and Bit Chute, a very, very based, politically incorrect video about the idea that your grandparents and parents grew up under nationalist patriarchal propaganda from TVs, where they don't understand why things are different for the later generations, because later generations post 1963 grew up under pretty much open Bolshevik propaganda that encouraged a lot of bad things, which resulted in the society you see before you now, which is why boomers are on a different page. They just don't understand what's going on, because they didn't, during their formative years, they were watching nationalist patriarchal type of TV shows that were, Leave It to Beaver or the stuff before that, I forget some of those shows. You get the idea. It was an entirely different social conditioning. Anyway, so all those istophobic terms, they're not real words. They're just manipulative techniques by these Marxists. The difference between a word and propaganda is only used against one group of people to affect the change they want to. And the ADL will arbitrarily change definitions overnight, and then when they get pressure, they'll change them back. You're like, you're not changing the definition of the word. You're just trying to manipulate people with propaganda. Language, yes, words change, bigot. Language evolves organically, not because John Greenblatt at the ADL hates European with this incandescent burning passion, which he absolutely does. So all these istophobic terms are globalist manipulative propaganda. Because, and let me be clear here, Hollywood, the ADL, SPLC, ACLU, and those other, left-wing type of groups, they simply hate you, and they want to cause as much fighting in America and Europe and all other, Canada, Australia, and will grow the tall grass so they can distract you from the other things that they're doing behind the scenes. That's more for Odyssey. You can go on Telegram. You probably get a hell of an education in a couple of days. So ask yourself, is Hollywood and all this anti-white, misandrist, anti-patriarchal, anti-Europe, Christophobic type of stuff, all these hate groups, the ADL, SPLC, ACLU, are they helping America, or are they just making things worse? They don't like POCs. They just hate people who look like you and me, your green and blue-eyed heroes. They're just using POCs. Oh, these guys are on our side. No, mon frere, they're not on your side. But they're funding our organization. They're funding your organization so they can manipulate these two groups against each other. Oh. Yeah, we vote Democrat. Yeah, you've been voting that way. I mean, as you look at your city councils and mayors and DNCs, it's like, they know they have your vote, my POC brothers. That's why they're not doing anything for you, because they're guaranteed your vote, and you give them that vote every year. It's like, yeah, oh yeah, we're POCs. We always vote D. Yeah, so they don't have to do anything for you. Oh, since you put it that way. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, nobody in office is representing anyone, but I always get distracted in these videos. Like, comment, subscribe. Check me out on Patreon, Subscribe. Thank you for the people who have signed up over there. I'm putting videos up on Subscribe. But I guess if people go over to, I have one patron. If you go over there, I guess I'll have to start putting stuff over there also. Anyway, I will see you guys all next episode.